100 days in a realm filled with magic. I played on a specific magic-based mod pack called Magiculture 2, and I got to become a Minecraft wizard. Subscribe to me and Miss SMP. And 10,000 likes on this video and I'll do another 100-day challenge. And go! Firstly, I want to talk about the mod pack itself. This mod pack is based on magic, but holds over 300 different mods. The mod pack is set up so that you pick your class, and therefore you're unable to unlock other mods until you progress far enough in the class you've chosen. However, about halfway through, I decided to go classless so that I can progress in any mod that I like. I did this in order to show you guys as much content as possible. I'll also be trying my best to explain things as I go, so this video might be a tad longer than my average 100 days video. Some of the main mods I'll be using in this video are Thaumcraft, Wizardry, Botania, Ender.io, and Refined Storage. I'll also be cutting out a lot of extra stuff I do, as I want to spend my time utilizing the magic mods and creating builds. So if I end up getting a lot of stuff randomly, it's probably because I cut it out, as a lot of the dungeon running and mining isn't as important as the building. I think this will end up being one of the best videos I've made, so be sure to watch all the way to the end. I'll be harding and replying to everyone who watches all the way through, so let me know in the comments. Oh, and this was way harder than RLcraft. Anyways, let's move on to day 1. I spawned in a jungle biome on day 1, and immediately my inventory was filled with items. The mod pack had a predetermined inventory, so after figuring some things out, I decided to go looking for food. I explored around the area, finding a few things along the way. I realized my inventory was full and it was nighttime after a short little while. And the mobs in this pack are crazy and spawned with swords in their hands, and I was on hardcore and only had 5 hearts. I decided to go over to this excluded island, dig a hole, and sit there for the night. I did a few more quests to get myself set up, and one of them gave me a bed. I slept the night away quickly, excited to get into day 2. Day 2 was very confusing for me. I spent the day deciding what class I was going to pick, as it turns out I was only able to use so many recipes from specific mods first. I also increased my skill points a bit, just like in RLcraft. I decided to go with engineering and artificy, meaning that I can only craft stuff from Ender.io, immersive engineering, Thaumcraft, astral sorcery, and embers. This means I'll be going over those mods first, and then moving into the more complicated mods as time goes on. But I do think I'm going to end up going classless later on in the video, just so I can, play with whatever mods I want. I collected some flowers to start the wizardry mod, but it turns out I really had to go mining. So I set up a little mine in my base and went to gather materials. I dare not go outside for these 100 days, as from previous attempts, all mobs can and will one-shot me in hardcore mode. I was stuck here until I was much stronger than I am now. If you thought RLcraft was hard, just wait. This mod pack is crazier and has no means of becoming overpowered like the battle towers. I spent all of day 3 expanding the base and mining area. I wanted to have rooms as you walk down deeper into my base dedicated to specific mods. Here's how it ended up by the end of the day: a large open staircase leading down to different rooms. Day 4, I spent the entire day underground still, mining out 4 rooms, one for storage, Thaumcraft, Botania, and the last one for the wizardry mod. Day 5, I collected copper ingots, completing a beginner miner quest. Afterwards, I made new copper tools and headed out, collecting some nickel and a ton of salt. I quickly returned home after it grew extremely dark very fast, and I was very lucky I didn't die. The outside is so scary in this mod pack. Day 6, I mined out this huge tunnel and discovered multiple ore veins. I returned home and completed another quest for iron ore, and unlocked the prospecting pickaxe. This lets me find out what ores are nearby. Afterwards, I set all of my iron to smelt and went looking for more coal. Day 7, I made a full set of iron armor, tools, and smelted more materials. Then I crafted an anvil and placed it down. I'm ready to go ahead and find diamonds to then be completely set up and a little protected. I had to figure out how to get heart containers, as everything one-shots me even in full iron armor. I like difficulty, but not unnecessary difficulty. And I want to be able to go outside or into caves, as I've wasted a lot of time just in this mineshaft. Day 8, I spent ripping up the floor of this large staircase and replacing it with a giant cobblestone staircase. So now I don't have to jump to constantly get back up. I also found out that you can get hard containers from the roguelike dungeons, so I'll be going there really soon and playing it super safe. I went to the underground caves and lost my mind as 10 zombies spawned. I killed most of them by using blocks to my advantage. Day 9, I explored the surface a bit. finding not very many things due to the biome I spawned in, and eventually returned to my small base. I needed to mine some more underground and grind for more experience, as I really don't want to feel this weak the entire video. Day 10, I decided to go mining for even more materials, getting everything that I needed to start messing with magic mods. I didn't do much else this day, and any other mining that I'm going to do, I'm probably going to end up cutting out, because this is just way too long to get started. I did end up finding diamonds and emeralds, and I grabbed as much as I could, as quick as I could. Day 11 and 12, I spent the next 2 days getting everything that I needed in order to complete the first magic quest. I had to go find leather to make a book and craft my first spell, Magic Missile. Then I had to go out and get specifically red and blue dye to grab a purple carpet needed for my magic table. Luckily, flowers are easy to find, and so is lapis. Then I put it in my wizardry room and figured out how to identify spells and imbue them into my new magic wand. Day 13, I spent the whole day identifying spells and figuring out exactly what spells I have in my arsenal. Turns out, I was pretty decked. I had Heal, Ignite, Magic Missile, and Muffle, all just from random mob drops. These spells will help so much when fighting mobs, as I actually might be able to take on a ruined dungeon I found earlier. Now, spells have a random chance to drop from any mob, so they're not too hard to find. I spent this day lighting up my island area to prevent mob spawns, as well as cutting down and clearing trees to get a place to actually build some things on this island. On day 14, I completed a ton of quests and got ready to set up for exploration and adventure. I wanted to head over to a roguelike dungeon that I found, and prepared myself with elixirs, a shield, a bow, and magic. I wanted to get back up to 10 hearts with heart containers as soon as possible. Days 15 through 18, after spending a while preparing, I headed into the roguelike dungeon. I wanted to explore, gather treasure, and take all of it back to my base. I had many mods I wanted to explore in this video still, but I needed to be stable and set it up so I don't actually die. I entered the roguelike dungeon on day 15 and spent the next 3 days scouring this dungeon. I ended up finding a ton of interesting things I was looking for, including a few new spells, and there were even multiple moments where I almost died. This is a super tough place to be. Spawners would spawn like 10 guys at once. There were boss mobs with crazy high health. I had to utilize my heal spells so much, and I would never have made it without it. I also had to struggle to even begin to fight these guys. Some of these bosses shot spells back at me, and it was crazy. I was close to dying so many times, but played it very safe. I was here a really long time. I found one single heart container, and finally got an extra base heart. Then, I used a return scroll after an hour of being out to hopefully return home and continue upgrading my wizardry wand. Day 19, I did a lot. Firstly, I upgraded my wand from a novice wand to an apprentice wand, and identified a ton of spells. Now I have Fireball, Heal, Evade, and a Light all in my wand. This is so useful, and I'm super happy I got all these spells. I crafted a ton of bookshelves and got an enchanting station set up as well. And finally, I set up a waystone to be able to go back to the roguelike dungeon whenever I would like to. I wanted to start Thaumcraft and Botania in this video, so that will be a chunk of the mods that I explore. However, I'm going to get a storage room with a refined storage setup before that. I just needed something simple, not something super advanced with auto-crafting or anything like that. Days 20 to 23, I'm unbelievably happy that the quests with this mod pack give you a wrath load of experience, as my skills are way past what they were in RLcraft. Anyways, I spent the next hour crafting, smelting, and mining in the nether for quartz to finally create a controller, disk drive, and terminal for refined storage. Let me explain. Basically, I feed coal into this machine here, and that provides power to my system. The disk drive lets me store disks that equate to a specific amount of items. For example, I can fit 20,000 items in here as I'm using a 4,000 and 16,000 storage disk. I ran out of materials here, but my storage system is set up to be one large inventory where I can craft things and search for things, and is very useful and a pretty cheap alternative to the ME system of Applied Energistics 2. This is going to be helpful a lot in my playthrough. Now, on days 24 and 25, I mined out this huge room that I'm going to put all of my Thaumcraft stuff in. I'm also going to decorate it, and it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm excited to start the mod, and I know I have more than enough stuff to do it. I also went back and got a lot more from the roguelike dungeon, but I cut that out since nothing exciting happened, and I didn't even find a heart container. I also mined a lot in this time, but I cut that out too because it wasn't really important. On day 26, I set out for adventure, sailing the seas and eventually coming across a pirate ship. After a lengthy and tough battle, I slept through the night there. It It was actually really difficult, and I had to jump off the boat multiple times to not die to their bow shots and sword hits. Day 27, I discovered these large floating islands. I also tamed a horse and continued looking for flowers and other Botania items, as I wanted to start that mod and grab a few things for Thaumcraft as well. However, I couldn't find any Botania flowers, and this is because I never picked the Druid class, which is the one that unlocks Botania flowers. So I kind of just wasted a bit of time here, but I did gather a bunch of materials needed on this adventure and continued on for the next couple days. Day 28, I ended up losing my horse and floating around on a boat for a while, just looking for a few more things. I found a silverwood tree and a greatwood tree, which is very useful, and I'm looking for a few more things before I return home. Not much happening on these adventure days, but I will update if anything cool happens, you know? Days 29 and 30, I finished my journey over the next 2 days, finally discovering a large stretch of land that wasn't just an island. I found all the resources I needed and discovered a bunch of marble structures and a wizard tower. I decided to place a waystone down here and return home, so now I can go back there anytime I wanted. Now that I'm home, it's time to start Thaumcraft. Days 31 and 32, I started Thaumcraft. Thaumcraft is a powerful magic mod that involves so many different and unique things that I'm going to accomplish. There are multiple types of magic. Alchemy is the first one that I'm going to delve into. This means I can mix essences into a cauldron and get crystals for different things, as well as crafting other unique Thaumcraft items inside of these cauldrons. I can also unlock special metals that I can use alchemy to create. There was also Infusion, Artifice, and Goldomancy. These are all schools of magic that can be unlocked with Thaumcraft. There is also a research table, which has me spend the essence crystals and other items to gain percentages in specific types of magical research. This is required for more advanced tiers of Thaumcraft formulas. I spent these 2 days completing one alchemy research formula and unlocking the beginning of artificing. I wanted to create some special gloves, helmet, and a few tools and weapons from Thaumcraft, including the Wind Sword of Zephyr. So the next thing I'm looking to unlock is Infusion, a special type of magic that allows me to infuse an item with other items and essences. Day 33 to 36, I unlocked Essentia Smelting. This lets me smelt down items into their magical essences and bottle them in jars or glass bottles. This is going to be extremely important for my infusion table, as specific essences are required in order to infuse things. I seem to be doing really well for myself with this mod so far, and I plan to set up a system for this in the next few days. I wanted every single Essentia inside of its own jar, and I plan on smelting a lot in order to get it. By the end of the day, I had unlocked Infusion and began the long and grueling process of setting up a smelter area, as well as getting as much essences as possible all around my infusion altar. Day 37, I set up my infusion table, added in the first recipe, and successfully created the Cloud Stepper ring. This is a bauble ring that lets me double jump, and it was a super fun bauble accessory to have. I also had to study Oromancy and crafted the Caster Gauntlet in order to activate the infusion table. Day 38, I studied Oromancy more and created a recharging station to unlock the Boots of the Traveler. I then started to set up my Thaumcraft room to make it all pretty and nice. I also researched the Boots of the Traveler, and I was going to spend the next day remodeling my Thaumcraft area and then creating these boots. Day 39 to 44, the next 5 days I spent remodeling my Thaumcraft room, using marble bricks, silverwood, and smooth glowstone to make it really stand out. I also crafted a ton of Essentia smelters and planned on having a wooded jar for every single Essentia. So I placed them all down here, and it was overall a really successful session. I dug out this huge basement area to my Thaumcraft room, planned on adding more alchemy and crafting stations up above on the first floor just to make everything kind of look pretty. Thaumcraft is going to be one of the main mods I mess with in this video, so I'm really glad I'm getting all of this done now. I'm gonna start smelting tons of items into Essentia and infusing some boots, a sword, and a couple other things before this video ends. Day 45, I decided I wanted to move on from Thaumcraft for just a little bit, and instead, terraform the top part of my base in order to collect Botania flowers, since I can't seem to find any that naturally spawn. I actually struggled with this for so long before figuring out that I just had to go classless and not pick any of the classes, and then I'll be able to find Botania flowers. So I really spent a long time trying to figure out what was happening. I spent the whole day clearing out the top of my island and making sure no mobs could get onto my island either, by lighting up the entire thing with with torches. On day 46, I tried planting some Botania flowers with a special bone meal, but it didn't work. So I gave up on that for now and instead went to focus on upgrading my power and giving myself access to a system in my Thaumcraft room so I don't have to run 10 years away every time I needed an item. And also, I don't want to keep putting coal in this stupid smelter thing in order to power my system, because it just wastes materials, and I could use something like windmills or water wheels to make this much easier. Days 47 and 48, I spent the next 2 days inside of the roguelike dungeon, killing mobs and exploring. I decided I wanted to keep this in the video because I found a ton of wand upgrades. I also found an actual wand upgrade called the Wand of the Healer, and it was inside one of the chests down there. This is a clip of me upgrading and infusing it with the spells I required. I found Greater Heal, which in my opinion is the most powerful spell I've come across. I also ended up finding Blink, so I can teleport anywhere I want, and I feel very accomplished with the vast majority of spells I've come across so far. Now, time to move on with upgrading my power and engineering. Day 49, I plan to upgrade my power with lava, just like in the last 100 days video, but turns out I need to go to the end before I even think about upgrading my power to lava-based. I completed a ton of automation quests this day, as I wanted to go deep into the engineering part of my quest book in order to get more quests done. I also built a coke forge, and continued working on some of the immersive engineering mod. I wanted to focus on magic mostly in this video, but I did need to set up power for my system. Day 50, I set up an industrial hemp farm for more immersive engineering stuff. Then I went down to the Thaumcraft room and remodeled the back area, matching it up to the infusion area. I just needed to wait for my coal coke to smelt in order to continue on with the immersive engineering stuff. Day 51, I continued with the engineering quests, making a windmill and unlocking a few more things as well. After doing some actual research, I realized that I had not unlocked a ton of mod content and finally figured out how to unlock the rest of the mods, including Botania. I had to go and spawn in a no class mode book, which I did and used in order to get all the mod content unlocked and usable. If you guys are gonna be like, wow, Asher, why'd you spawn in an item? Well, you know, that's fair. I mean, it was cheating at the end of the day, but I didn't want to have to do all of Thaumcraft, Embers, and the other mod, whatever it was, I can't remember, before doing Botania, as I wanted to get that done in this video because I really did enjoy it. So I unlocked all the mods, as going for only one specific class at a time is kind of not really that fun to me, and this is all about having fun. I should have done this from the beginning, but it's halfway through now, so now I can finally get into some new mods and new mob spawning, etc. Day 52, I spent the entire day moving my storage system up top and finally getting a surefire way to always have my storage system running. Now all I had to do was add easy access to it, and I think I know exactly how I'm going to do that for the next day. Elevators. Day 53, I solved my problem of power by adding 2 windmills to my refined storage system. Then, I upgraded the storage in it, and added an elevator to my base to give me a very easy way to get in and out. The large staircase was eventually going to be completely replaced by elevators, and travel between them using a system of pathways. I'm excited to get to building. I also completely redid the wizard room, shaping it to feel much more wizard-like. And added my own crafting grid down here, so now I don't have to constantly go up to the surface to access my system. Day 54 to 56, I completed the wizardry room, making the floor a light blue concrete, and using roof tiles for the walls, and more concrete for the indents. Then, afterwards, I made the ceiling a smooth stone. I ended up finding an advanced pyromancy wand, which I upgraded a few times to deal extra damage when I hit something with it. I wanted to make this my new main wand, but I kind of also wanted to use the healing one for healing, because, well, healing's more important than damage because I have a sword for damage. So, instead of getting more spells to deal damage, I went ahead and wanted to make some really strong armor. And the easiest way to do that is to start by getting the Boots of the Traveler from the Thaumcraft mod. So let's go back into Thaumcraft. Day 57 through 59, I finished the Thaumcraft room and gave up after trying forever to get the smelters to work. I guess I really just don't understand how they transferred Essentia into the warded jars. I thought they would just go into whatever jar is connected to it, but apparently it's not exactly how it works. I need to figure out how to use this, so I just kind of gave up for now. But for these 3 days, I infused the Boots of the Traveler and the Sword of Zephyr, successfully getting a really good weapon and really good boots. I wanted to strengthen my character so I didn't take as much damage in the roguelike dungeons. On day 60, I worked on setting up some more power, as well as creating a simple sag mill and a simple alloy smelter in order to make dark steel to get some of the most powerful armor in the game, the dark steel armor. Obviously, I'm not going to get nearly enough to get a full set, but I wanted to at least get the helmet and infuse it with a couple things, but I actually didn't have enough stats for this. I needed 22 defense, and I needed 27 defense. What? I guess it was back to the roguelike dungeons and questing for me. Now that I've messed with Ender.io, Immersive Engineering, Thaumcraft, Wizardry, and a few other mods, it was time for me to start another huge mod that I wanted to get done in this video, Botania. I also wanted to try out Astral Sorcery and Embers, but I wanted to get Botania done first. Day 61 to 63, I created a dark steel helmet using the small amount of steel I had, and used the rest that I smelted to create a dark steel anvil and put it in my base. This actually took like 3 hours of waiting for the dark steel to smelt, but I went AFK to eat some food, so when I came back, I had enough for the anvil. Afterwards, I smelted a few more things in my slow alloy smelter, and eventually came up with an empowered dark steel helmet with the goggles of revealing and the one probe, which actually lets me now see things at the top with this little GUI. It's really useful. I smelted more alloys, created a simple charger, and then charged up my helmet for future use. I wanted to create a machine area eventually with some really good power, but I needed to go to the end and basically beat the whole game before that. So now I'm stuck with this one capacitor bank and some really unautomated machines. This is a magic mod pack, so I didn't want to get too into engineering, but I wanted to at least get set up to the point where I had power. I also set up a ton of other machines and completed quests as they came up, so I ended up with a bunch of different things at the end of day 63. On days 64 and 65, I infused myself a pair of Thaumium Fortress pants and Thaumium Fortress chestplate. Now I have a full set of pretty awesome armor that I can use for the rest of the video. I don't have to worry about things one-shotting me all the time either now. I feel pretty decked out. Days 66 through 69, I decided that with all my new gear, I wanted to go ahead and tackle another roguelike dungeon. I decided to go explore this large tower that I was at a long time ago and went through it with elixirs and all my new armor. I got a ton of treasure and eventually returned home safely, including getting a ton of awesome spells and a master level pyromancy wand, which means really strong fire spells. I got a ton of unidentified spellbooks, so I spent a long time identifying those as well. Time to upgrade my arsenal of weapons and then move on to day 70 by starting a brand new mod, finally, Botania. On day 70, I fully upgraded my wizard wand with a few upgrades that I found while dungeoneering, as well as equipped it with my master spell, Meteor. This is the first master spell I've come across, and I heard it was one of the best. Now that I got this wand, I should be able to use this spell, and I accidentally got distracted for this entire day and used this spell above my base, playing with different spells and trying to find the best ones that I would want for my wand, and I wanted to be really strong, and I'm going to get into Botania now. Now we're gonna go. Okay, let's go Botania. So on days 71 to 75, I decided to go ahead and go into Botania. So I cleared out a room right next to my Thaumcraft room for Botania, and that's pretty much all I did this day. I'm going to eventually have rooms for Embers, Astral Sorcery, and Thaumcraft kind of be in the same area because they're all part of the same class. I'm also going to have Botania, Roots, and Nature's Aura be in one room, just to, you know, stick to how the classes are played. Day 76, I connected my elevator down to my main room to my Botania room, successfully erasing the need for the staircase to begin with, and now my base was really starting to come together as we started to get to the last part of these 100 days. I hooked my entire base together with elevators, seemingly removing the staircase from the equation entirely. I'm happy I did this, as this was my plan from pretty much the beginning. However, I do end up taking this a step further and creating an entire system of tunnels by the end of this video. Day 77 and 78, the next 2 days, I set up some basic Botania stuff. Botania involves generating mana with mystical flowers, so I spent the first day gathering these magical flowers with the special fertilizer I had, then turning them into petals and mixing them together in a pool of water similar to Thaumcraft's alchemy. Afterwards, I created a few mana generating flowers that took coal as fuel and generated mana and set them up to start generating mana. I couldn't do much until the mana generated, so I'll probably do something else while I wait for that. Days 79 and 80, I continued moving further with Botania, using mana to transfer iron and redstone into mana infused counterparts. I created a runic table which is similar to the infusion table of Thaumcraft, but much easier to use. I fuel it with mana and then go ahead and put in the recipe to create elemental runes. Then, I decided to create a ring of magnetization and a belt that basically lets me do what the Boots of Traveler does, so I can actually replace these boots now. Day 81, I set up Terra Steel creation right above my runic table. This let me infuse mana steel, mana diamonds, and mana ender pearls into a Terra Steel ingot. This is an extremely powerful ingot used to make some of the strongest stuff in Botania. On day 82, after letting a ton of mana generate, I created 2 more Terra Steel ingots as they took a lot of mana to create. I ended up creating a Terra Steel pickaxe and decided to use this as my new main pickaxe. I was happy with it and added a few enchanting books to it as well. Days 83 and 84, I realized I was completely out of blaze rods, and while normally I would just go to the roguelike dungeons and farm a few, I decided instead to take a trip to the Nether and see what goodies I could find in the Nether Fortress. And let me tell you, I found a lot of awesome goodies here. I was lucky enough to be generally okay with all of my health and items that I have, but I did find a Pyromancer hat and a legendary upgrade for it, a Necromancy wand, 2 master spells, lots of gold, diamonds, and killed plenty of blazes. I also found tons of wither armor. On days 85 to 87, I set up a portal needed for the Elven Realm of Elfheim and trading for Elementium. I decided to wait a long while for these mana pools to charge up, and then went ahead and traded a bunch of my mana-infused materials for now Elvish-infused materials. Now I can upgrade some trinkets, and start to fight the final boss of Botania, but I'm nowhere near strong enough yet. I can get really strong items from defeating this Guardian of Gaia, but I'm not strong enough and have to defeat the Wither beforehand as well to build a beacon, and a bunch of other things, and I'm just really not ready for this fight. I set up a small room down below to generate more mana as well, and I think it looks pretty good. Now it's time to decorate this room and make it all pretty. Day 88, I opened a loot crate and got a rare drop. I decided to use this to my advantage and created the Rending Gale. This is an item that uses feathers to push me really far, allowing me to basically fly. So I got distracted by spending the whole day flying around, and I loved this item. I spent days 89 through 93 redoing the entirety of my Botania room and making it nicely designed. I had a ton of basalt from my nether adventure, as well as a lot of treated wood from smelting all the coal I mined into coal coke. I used green terracotta for the floor, using green dye that I've collected from my cactus farm up top, and then used nice smooth glowstone for the lighting. Overall, I love the design and how well it contrasts from the Thaumcraft area. Day 94 is spent mining out a bit of my area in my Thaumcraft room, and then completely shutting down my mine shaft and staircase for the time being in order to stop using the middle staircase. I wanted to have a fully functional base by day 100 without this ugly staircase directly in the middle of it. On day 95 and 96, I worked on completely shutting off my base from the surface and destroying the staircase in general. I only wanted to utilize elevators in 3 locations to get in. I had a few farms up top and a few elevators to, put in. Next, I had to focus on destroying the staircase, and spending the last few days tidying up and finalizing my base. I also upgraded my power, adding in a few more simple furnaces and a few more windmills to keep them all charged. On day 97, I completely shut off access to my staircase, building tunnels to connect the inner workings of my base. Now this was finally done, I was so happy with how everything turned out. There isn't much to look at for these last few days, but stick around, because I'm about to show off the entirety of the base as I finish it up. On days 98 and 99, I set up signs all around my tunnel system in order to tell myself where everything is in my base, using elevators to connect everything together. I also returned to the dungeon to grind more ender pearls, but that really isn't the point. In the end, I had a complete and finished system, and used a few things to set up for my next video, as this is probably one of my favorite series that I've tried to start so far, and I really hope it does well so I can continue it, as I want to delve into Embers Rekindled, Nature's Aura, Roots, and a ton of other mods. This brings us to the 100th day. And in most of my videos, I don't do much for the 100th day, so this will be pretty much the end of the video. If you made it this far, comment that you made it to the end, and let me know what your favorite part of the video was. Oh, and let me know your opinion on my new Minecraft skin. I thought it was pretty cool, and I like the orange hair a lot more, since it represents me in real life. Thank you all so much for watching this crazy challenge. This difficulty was insane in this video, but I'm safe, I made it, everything was great, I didn't die, and thank you all so much for watching, and as always, keep your pants on. Bye-bye.